Hello, I'm Dr. Craig Childress. Welcome to my Vitae series. I'm going to be describing my background. For me, it's walking down memory lane. For you, it's going to be probably pretty boring, but um, here we go. So let's start with a sort of the context. I've been involved in psychology my entire life. Okay, so I did undergraduate psychology major at UCLA, and then got a master's degree in community clinical psychology at Northridge, then got a doctorate in clinical psychology from Pepperdine University, and I've worked a variety of jobs in professional psychology my entire life, beginning with working as a counselor at the Suicide Prevention Center in Crisis Hotline in Los Angeles, and then became a shift supervisor for other counselors in my work there. That was back when I was at UCLA. So that's where I started my clinical training, was with the Suicide Prevention Center hotline, and have continued that in a number of practicum experiences, number of internship experiences, and then in my professional practice. And I've always, from the start, wanted to be a clinical psychologist. I wanted to do psychotherapy. That's my goal, and that's been my goal since 18, 17, is to be a clinical psychologist. And so that's been my path. And where it emerged was the family pathology I grew up in. I was born in 55, so I grew up in that 1960s, that early 60s era for my younger childhood. And it was the era of, Kennedy, and everything looked good on the outside, but things were kind of not so good on the inside. We had the trauma of World War II kind of moving through systems. And then it exploded when I was early high school into the late 60s and the Cultural Revolution, when authenticity became a major feature in sort of a countervailing pressure to the stultification of the 1950s, where everything looked good on the outside but wasn't good on the inside. And my family pathology has to do with my mother. She was sexually abused by her dad, incest. And one of the reasons I'm sharing that is because I think it should be shared. Being sexually abused, being victimized by your father, is not a problem for the girl. That's not a you problem, honey. That's a him problem. He's a messed up guy. But you're okay. You're wonderful. And that idea that we keep it silent or hidden, we got to stop doing that. No, we want the little girls to tell us what's going on so we can make it stop. Okay? It's not a problem, honey. It's okay. So that's the first element is yeah, my mom was sexually abused by her dad. And one of the things that did, though, is it created this narcissistic personality in her, where she didn't like men so much. And that was another undercurrent of it. But she has 3 boys. I have 2 older brothers than me. She has 3 boys, married to a guy, and she kind of kind of ambivalent feelings about men generally. So that was kind of an interesting experience for her. And so I partly know this pathology. I know the pathology of a narcissistic borderline parent and cross-generational coalitions and stuff, and enmeshment. My family was very enmeshed, highly enmeshed family. And so that's the family context I grew up in. And then in high school, my mother's trauma experience finally collapsed, and she had a depressive episode. We referred to it as her mental breakdown. But it was a depressive episode, major depression, suicidal features. She would get suicidal during that time. That was during high school. And so that was a difficult developmental experience for me, going through that. Because I was a golden child, and you know about black sheep, golden child kind of things. I was her baby, the golden child, baby of the family. And so that's a great place to grow up in, sort of, in an enmeshed relationship with a narcissistic mother. But I thought it was okay. I thought my mom and I had this wonderful, beautiful relationship where we didn't even need to talk. We just knew what the other person was feeling and experiencing, sensing. I thought that was a good thing back then. No, not so good. And so she stifled the individuation of all her children, my 2 brothers and myself. But because my mother had her depressive episode while I was in high school, that freed me from the enmeshment, because she collapsed into her own depression and suicidality and things. And And all of a sudden, she was no longer psychologically present and dominating. And so now I had some freedom, and I had a good buddy, Bill, who kind of joined with and kind of introduced me to the world. And so, late high school into college, I had my emergence into individuation. The feature that drove my moving into clinical psychology was that my meshed relationship with my mom, and then when she collapsed, I wanted to help her and couldn't. I wanted to heal the family and couldn't. And so I chose to be a clinical psychologist. I wanted to be a clinical psychologist to heal my family, sort of, and to figure out what happened, what went wrong, how do we fix this for people, and for my mom, her depressive episode and her collapse and stuff. And so that's always been my goal. I'm the healer of the family system. And my brother Gary carried the trauma of her sex abuse, and it kind of twisted him up. He's my middle brother, 7 years older than I am. Kind of a surprise. And so he's the one that carried the trauma. It kind of twisted him up. Me, I'm the healer. I carry the healing part of the family system. And so I entered that early on and started at UCLA with undergraduate at clinical psychology. And the most notable thing about my UCLA background in education and training experience, a wonderful university. I got a broad-based physiological learning theory, personality, research, really broad-based foundation to my education in psychology at undergraduate UCLA. But that was also the time of my first clinical internship, which, as I mentioned previously, it was at the Suicide Prevention Center of Los Angeles, or Crisis Hotline. I started off as a phone counselor there, and then moved up into a shift supervisor where I was supervising the other counselors that would show up. And I did that for a couple of years. And so my foundational ground is with suicide assessment and crisis intervention. So risk management assessment is from my undergraduate background. And so that was the entry seed that started me forward. So then when I graduated from UCLA, that was an interesting decision point, because there was this new PsyD degree that came along right about that time. And to explain the degrees, there's two types of doctorates. There's a PhD doctorate, and that's your classic one. And that model is a combination of clinical and research. So they teach you a lot of research methodology, you produce a dissertation, statistics, that sort of thing. And then they also teach you clinical therapy and clinical personality and methods of psychotherapy, that sort of thing. So it's a science practitioner model. That's the PhD. What they developed was something called a PsyD, which is what I have, which there was a lot of people who said, I don't want to be a university researcher. That's not what I'm entering psychology to do. I want to be a psychotherapist. I want to be a clinical psychologist doing psychotherapy. I don't want to be at a university doing research. So all that time I spend on learning research methodology and statistics and all that research side of that PhD degree could be better spent if I committed it to learning clinical psychology, learning psychopathology, learning psychotherapy. And so to become a specialist, a high-level specialist in clinical psychology, psychotherapy, and psychopathology. That's the PsyD degree. And so that was a new degree, and that's exactly spot on what I wanted, is a PsyD degree. I want to be a specialist in psychotherapy and psychopathology. But it was new, and I wasn't sure it was going to last or what the credibility was going to be with it. And I'm graduating, and what school do I go to? And So I decided to take a little break. And I went and got a master's degree, a non-terminal master's degree. It didn't allow me to do therapy. It didn't wind up in a degree, a licensing position. It was a non-terminal master's degree in clinical community psychology. And I figured I would get my master's degree, think about things, look at things over, and then go to get my doctorate degree, either PsyD or PhD, based on how things looked. And so that was my initial decision point. And so follow me over and I'll talk about the master's program that I